Welcome to Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. I'm Julia Elliott-Brown, the founder and CEO of Enter the Arena. I'm a serial entrepreneur and an expert in raising investment and business growth. Our mission at Enter the Arena is to empower female founders to fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business with investment expertise and business coaching. Here we share the stories of inspirational female founders who've raised investment to inspire you to do the same. You'll hear their honest accounts of what it was really like to secure funding, the highs, the lows, and the challenges they experienced on the journey. And along the way, we'll discuss top tips for how you can be successful too. In today's episode, I'm talking with Martha Keith, the founder of the award-winning London stationery brand Martha Brook. Now, Martha left the security of a senior corporate role at a large healthcare company to found her innovative personalised stationery business back in 2013. Starting with just a printer in her bedroom, the brand has grown exponentially with more than 250,000 pieces of stationery sent out to over 50 countries worldwide so far. And 7 years later, after founding the business in 2021, Martha raised £220,000 of investment finance through crowdfunding, with almost 500 investors backing her campaign. So let's meet Martha and find out all about her fundraising journey, the highs, the lows, and her top tips for success. Welcome, Martha.
Hello, lovely to be here.
Hi.
It's weird because I met you when I was kind of at the start of my fundraising journey. So it feels great to be chatting about it 18 months down the line.
That's right. It's kind of come full circle, isn't it? Because we met at the Albright, didn't we, when you were pitching, and we did some pitch prep beforehand, and it was great, a really great pitch, and obviously led to lots of success for you. So yeah, right. So let's go back to the beginning then, because I think it's really useful for people to sort of understand a bit more about Martha Brook stationery, because we think about stationery, stationery is everywhere, and it's not an area where we often think about innovation. But what's different about Martha Brook stationery? What kind of compelled you to start the business in the first place?
Oh, very good question. So I think there are sort of three things that make us different to other stationery brands. I think the first is that I set out when I started 8 years ago to make a kind of more personal, relatable stationery brand. So I think the insight was that young people weren't really getting what they wanted from the high street, and that they wanted to buy maybe more trend-led stationery from a brand that they could kind of truly connect with. And I really felt at the time there weren't a lot of brands that, you could visibly see the people behind the brand. You could really connect with those brands. They're sort of quite old-fashioned. And so that's what we set out to do, is create that more kind of personal stationery brand. I say we, it was just me at the start. And that's where our brand name comes from. So it deliberately sounds personal. It's my first name, Martha, combined with Brook from Brook Green, which is where I was living at the time. I think the second thing is that unusually for a stationery business, we're just online. So all of our products are brought through our e-commerce platform. They're same-day dispatch, even though they're all personalised, and often they're kind of customised and made to order. So there's that kind of bespoke touch to them, so people can kind of customise them. And I think the other thing that really sets us apart, in fact, two other things, is first of all the unique nature of our products. So I passionately believe in the power of writing things down and the difference that can make. And I know we're getting this increasingly digital world, but the flip side to that is that people more than ever need those moments of calm, those moments where they can kind of self-reflect. And really that's what our products are designed to do. They're kind of uniquely created to give people those moments of clarity, and really kind of help them find their kind of purpose in life. And lastly, I think uniquely for a stationery brand, we've set out to create a company that really builds a community. So we've got this kind of global customer base, and we kind of work with them in lots of different ways, whether it's through events or through online kind of initiatives. So people really feel kind of connected to our brand in the way that they don't feel to other stationery brands.
Yeah, that's very, very different, actually. I mean, there is something so special, isn't there, about kind of a beautiful piece of stationery and kind of squirreling yourself away in a corner and taking the time to get your thoughts on paper.
Yeah, and weirdly, even though we are becoming more online, it's a hugely growing area, and the market's growing at like 15% in the UK. It's not something that's going to go away, and I think I think actually globally as an industry, it's worth 71 billion. So, you know, it's a big area to kind of come in as a small player. But actually, I do think as a company trying to do things a bit differently, there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, wow, who knew it was so huge?
Yeah.
So back in 2013,
yes,
you had an idea about what you wanted to do. How did you get started?
So I'm a bit of an all or nothing person. I think I hit 30, and I've always been obsessed with stationery. I actually started my first stationery company when I was 10. It was ironically called Moo, but now there is actually a company called Moo, but that was my nickname when I was at school. But I was always told, you know, you can't do this as a career, but it's this sort of thing that's niggled away at me through my kind of career. And I was actually doing a job at a well-known healthcare company. I was actually a business director, and this idea for this business just kept coming back to me. And so I decided to have my resignation in and give it a go. Really, in hindsight, with very little experience or sort of knowledge of the industry. So it literally started kind of just me, as you said, one printer in my bedroom, and really not very much money. And I think that's probably something I am actually in hindsight quite proud of. So we very much are a business that started on a shoestring budget. So it was a small amount of savings, my own savings. And every year we've been profitable since then, reinvesting the kind of profits, and from very small beginnings grew into, you know, a 7-figure turnover business last year. And that was when I decided that actually now is the time to really take things to the next level and go down the investment route.
Yeah, wow. Okay, there's a massive missing piece here, which is starting from your bedroom with a print
yes.
to being at a point where, you know,
yes.
I think without a fundraise, you were doing like £1 million worth of revenue. Can you give us the highlights on that journey? Kind of what were the pivotal things that enabled you to grow with so little funding?
So I think lots of people ask me this, and I think I'd love to say there was this like one magic thing, but ultimately it's probably a mix of a few different things. And as you can imagine, a lot of hard work. I think we were very clever at utilising free marketing channels. So social media has been brilliant for us, particularly Instagram. So that has been, it's probably, well, it was until last year, until we started to actually do some paid marketing, you know, the biggest driver of traffic to our website. It's been amazing for building a community and helping us go viral with products, actually without spending any money. So we have a quite well-known, infamous stationery advent calendar that's been going for 4 years, that has sort of grown really just through the power of social media, and it sold out again this year in a couple of weeks, just because people are sort of talking about it, which is really exciting. I think that was has been a really big thing for us. I think secondly, at the start, we did leverage marketplaces, and in particular Not the High Street was really good at helping us get going when we literally had no customers at all. And I think it's a great way when you don't have a marketing budget to start out. And then I think it was a case of looking at what was selling and adapting what we were doing. And I think one of the reasons that our business has worked so well is that we very much listen to our customers. We have a kind of two-way conversation with them, and people really love our products. And that's one of the things that they come back year after year to buy them. You know, they're on their 5th or 6th diary from us, which is because they just give them something that they can't get from elsewhere. So that's, I think, our customer base has sort of grown and grown in a way that I probably couldn't have predicted.
Yeah, amazing. What a story. So 0 to kind of 60 or 1 million in 7 years, really.
Yeah.
7 years. So for a business that's profitable and doing that kind of turnover, some might say, why?
Yes.
Why go out to raise investment? What was the trigger for you?
I think when I was looking at what we were doing, and I love my business and I'm hugely passionate about the potential of it. I realized that there's certain things I want to do that we just didn't really have enough cash to do. So although we're turning over a lot of money, although we're making a profit, actually cash flow is another thing, as you probably know. And as a business that is a product business, certain times of year we tend to be much more cash rich than other times of the year. And I think it wasn't just about growing the business, it was about kind of the rate of growth and really the potential I was seeing in the market. And there were certain step changes we wanted to make. We wanted to invest a bit more in our tech. We wanted to invest a bit more in our team, wanted to invest a bit more in certain products. And actually to make those step changes, we needed to spend some money. And I think I always maybe at the start, it was something I was quite proud not to actually have spent any money. But then I definitely reached a tipping point when I realized actually to scale and to reach an exit, actually you need to spend some money. It's very, very difficult to do that without spending any money. And actually it's more interesting. It's also for, I've been doing this for 7 years. I come from a business background. I can see where I want to take this. So I want to be able to spend the money, make some wise decisions. And I'll be honest, we needed some money to do it. Even with being a profitable business, you just don't have enough cash to be able to make the sort of step change that I was looking to make.
So lots of little underlying reasons there, which all make sense. I mean, it's all about kind of accepting that you're sort of selling a piece of the smaller pie now with a view to making it a much bigger pie.
Yeah.
I mean, thinking about that, obviously it's a big decision after having had the business just by yourself for that time.
Yeah.
Think about which investment route you're going to go down, because suddenly you're going to have other people owning part of your business. What was your thinking at that time about how you would, the sort of investors you wanted?
Yeah, so I think I knew very early on I didn't want to go down the VC route. I had seen it happen to other businesses where the founders were exited and they lost control. And I think that wasn't really something I wanted to do. And I think that probably we're not really at that stage. We're still, I sort of still think of us as being a young business. I know we're a few years down the line, but I sort of feel we're just finding our sort of pace now. And so it was either angels or crowd for me. That was always kind of what I set out to do. But I decided to do this at a really weird time. So I knew I wanted to do this at the start of last year. And it was a sort of self-imposed deadline, but not a stupid one, because end of September last year was our EIS deadline. We've been trading for 7 years. So that, you reach a point where you're no longer eligible for that, which is of course appealing to a lot of investors. So it was sort of a self-imposed but sensible deadline. And then of course the pandemic hit. And I found through talking to angels and reaching out to angels, obviously nothing was happening face to face. I managed to have quite a lot of meetings over Zoom, but everything was happening very slowly, because I think at that point people weren't, making quick decisions. And some of the people who I was speaking to were very interested, had other things to worry about in terms of physical retail space. So they maybe didn't want to make the decision so quickly. So it was quite an interesting time to have the discussions and try and do this. And in the end, I decided to go down the crowdfunding route, really because I knew that it was a defined time length. And if I was clever about it, I could do it before my deadline. And secondly, because I knew how engaged our community were, and actually from a company that has grown because of the support and input and engagement of our community, it really felt like it makes sense to kind of involve them in this kind of next step of Martha Brook.
Yeah, I mean, you're the perfect company for crowdfunding, given the size of your community. Give us a sense of the size of that community, because I think that's quite important for people who are listening or watching to think about, what kind of size of community might they need. Because the reason I say that is, for many businesses that are crowdfunding, they do need to get sort of big chunks of lead investment before they can go out to your community. But it sounds like you didn't need to do that.
We didn't do that, no. I did do kind of expression of interest to understand from our community how much was there. But I didn't have any lead investors or go into this knowing that I had an angel backing it or anything like that. So I did do expression. So I guess in terms of the size of my community first, and I'll talk a little bit about how I kind of was confident that I was going to get to the amount I wanted. So, I mean, it's not huge. I think at the moment we've got 56,000 Instagram followers. I think maybe when we decided to do this, we only had 35,000, so it wasn't massive. But I think it's not the size as much as the engagement. So I think it's the two things together. And I think what I did, which I think I would really recommend doing if you're thinking about crowdfunding, so we sort of put it out there. So we said, oh, hey, you know, we're thinking of crowdfunding. This is our story. This is kind of why we're thinking of doing it. This is the journey we've been on to get to this point. We're thinking of doing this. What do you think? And here's a little form you can fill out to say, if you're interested, how much would you donate? And put that out there to our community, put that out there to some kind of people that we know, friends and family, and got all that money in, got all the pledges of interest, halved that, because you always halve it, because there's always people that don't invest. And that, from that, I knew that actually we would have enough interest to make this a thing. Yeah. So even with no lead investors, which is quite a nerve-wracking thing, because the day we pressed the go live, I genuinely didn't know whether anybody was going to invest. It was quite scary.
Oh, that is so scary. That is so scary. But actually, I mean, I just want to make one thing clear. They're not donating money to you. They are buying your business. So it's
they are. Yeah.
But it's interesting because I think the general rule of thumb for the crowdfunding platforms, when you go out and do that expression of interest, is that you probably not cut it by half, but maybe cut it by 80%, because it is often quite hard to get people over the line, even though they said they were going to.
Yeah.
Did you find that so compared to your expression of interest, how did that then translate to what really happened?
Honestly, was blown away. The day that we opened, and we opened just to the people who had expressed their interest, we fully funded in 2 days. Wow. It was unbelievable. And I think the reason that happened was because the communication was actually very good. Like, I was so on it. I kept people updated every few days. I did a lot of face-to-face stuff. I explained to people very clearly what they were doing. There's a Q&A document they could download. It was very, very clear. I genuinely didn't know when we pressed the go live. It was like, you know, one evening, like, what would happen. We had one Instagram follower invest £25,000. You know, this wasn't small amounts of money. You know, all the way down, of course, the end where quite a few people invested £10, you know. But I was genuinely totally taken aback, and it was actually hugely confidence building you know, experience to know that this many people, you know, trusted in what I'm doing so much and get what our company's doing. It was actually very empowering, and, you know, actually a really great experience. But I was amazed. We hit our 150,000 in 2 days, and then when we went live, of course, a bit later on the Crowdcube platform. We ended up overfunding by quite a bit, but actually most of the money came from our community and not Crowdcube, and that's probably yes.
I mean, that's often the case. I mean, I think again a good rule of thumb is kind of 80-20. But the fact that you'd actually funded before you went live, I mean, that just radiates confidence. Yeah. You risked it because everybody knows you've got enough money to succeed. So they're like, they get FOMO and they want to pile in. No, it was good. We definitely had at the end of the raise a lot of people piling in the last 24 hours because they sort of didn't want to miss out, which was really, really, really great to see. But most of the money came in that first 2 days, because I think of the communication in the run up to it and the sort of hype that I managed to build about what we were doing and the campaign itself. So that it was a really amazing moment, actually, when you see it ping, ping, ping. It was quite exciting. So in the old days, you might remember this because we're a similar age, you're a bit younger than me, but the old Blue Peter thermometer, isn't it?
We had one in our studio, so it was brilliant. We made a thermometer in the shape of a pen, obviously, as we're a stationery company, and we were like, we'll add to it over the coming weeks, and then literally in a day we'd filled the pen up. So it was quite fun because we did some fun stuff on social media around it, and then we ended up having to do a notepad next to the pen to check off the extra amounts. It was quite fun. It was a nice visual to say, you know, 2 days later you filled the pen already. This is unbelievable. It was a nice feeling. It was really amazing to see. And also, it wasn't just our community. We did have ex-colleagues of mine from our old, kind of my old career, who obviously kind of know how hard I work, and have worked with me in the past and invested. So things like that was very very heartwarming, and actually very, very confidence building exercise, actually.
I mean, do you think the fact that your business was already profitable was quite an important factor? Because it's actually, you de-risk so much because you've been doing it for 7 years and you're already clearly proving it.
Yeah, I think that was a big factor. I think the fact that people could see we're already a fully functioning business, walking the walk, talking the talk, doing what we say we're going to do, and it's just about upscaling. I think that was a reason that people were so interested. We had we did, as obviously everybody does, a crowdfunding video, but it was really nice, behind the scenes look at what we do and who we are. I think that really helped. I think the communication really was the thing that tipped a lot of people over the line. As I say, we had a downloadable Q&A, like I did lots of webinars, did a lot of face-to-face kind of conversations. People could ask any questions at any time. We had this sort of like insider group that they could sign up to an email. So they kind of felt that they're in the secret club, they could be kept updated. And then they sort of didn't want to miss out on the next bit. So that worked really well. I think the teasing up to it and the kind of communication throughout was, I think, probably the biggest factor that led to the campaign to being successful.
You've got to run it like a military operation.
Oh, yes.
It's like your biggest marketing campaign you'll ever do.
Yeah.
People don't always realise that. I think people are scared of it because of that. But actually, if you can plan it really well and you are good at the comms, it doesn't have to be scary.
No, I think it requires a lot of planning, and literally almost like, as you say, military precision, like date by date what you're going to do, when you're going to send an email, when you're going to do an update, I think if you sort of plan it out, it's not as scary. It does require a lot. I'll be honest, it requires a lot of energy from the founder. It was, for me, a huge project. It's not something that you can delegate off to other people in your team. It's something that you really need yourself to be present in, visible. You need to be the face of it, because people are ultimately investing in, believing you and what you're doing. So it is very time consuming. But I actually think that investment community are now some of our best customers. They're now, of course, invested in what we're doing. They want to see us succeeding. We've really tried to keep the communication up. We do really detailed quarterly updates for them, so they really feel that they're kind of involved in what we're doing. So, we may go back to them in the future if we want to do another raise. I think the communication is, I would say, the secret weapon for a crowdfunding campaign. And I mean, planning it out, and you really can't do too much of it.
Yeah, and I think especially where it's a product-based business, it's not that kind of sexy tech that a lot of professional investors and institutions like to back.
Yes, exactly.
The crowd get that, they understand what you are doing. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, obviously Enter the Arena, and this podcast is all about great female founders and supporting them in raising and growing their businesses. Along the way, did you feel any kind of pushback at all on the fact that you were a female founder, or did that not play into it at all?
It wasn't. I would say it wasn't that bad. I think, interestingly, there are places, people like you who are brilliant support. Albright, we're trying to. That was a great experience for me. It was the first time I wrote a pitch deck. But I did find, when talking to certain male founders, mostly angel investors, there's less understanding of the business, because we're female, we're aimed at women. Our products are very much aimed at women. I think maybe it doesn't sound as sexy to a man. And I think the Crowdcube platform itself is mostly men. I would say it's maybe 90% male investors on there. So I think, and they're much more likely to invest in these sexy tech businesses. So I think I was actually a little bit disappointed at the amount of investment we had from the Crowdcube community itself. Obviously, we didn't really need it in the end, but I think sometimes female orientated, female founder businesses that are product-based businesses sometimes get a bit overlooked. But I think you just need to find the right investors that kind of get it, because I did meet a number of them along the way. So I think it does still, I'll be honest, as a woman, put you at a slight disadvantage, but not in all cases. I definitely wouldn't let that discourage you if you're interested in seeking investment. Actually, it only made me more determined.
Well, that's it. You found the way around it, because I think that from the kind of traditional male-dominated investment ecosystem, it's very, very easy to put a woman running what they might call a little stationery business just kind of them to be dismissed. It's just so easy for them to do.
Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah.
But your customers do get it.
Yeah.
Absolutely get it. So, and actually, I'm interested to know, are most of your customers women, or do you have a mix? What's the kind of gender?
We are mostly women. I mean, our products are, our target customer is, you know, the 25 to 40-year-old woman. It's who's at that certain time in her life. They are mostly women. We do have a lot of men who buy from us, but mostly men buying from women. But we do have men. But I mean, I always think it's better to know your customer and be able to talk to them. And I think the community that we fostered is 95% female. But I was really interested in the lady, our biggest investor, who invested 25,000. You know, she's a woman. Most of our investors were women, and some were men. We did have some men invest larger amounts. But you know, she said to me, "I've discussed this with my husband. I've followed you for a long time. I really believe in you." And it was really sweet. I had a call with her and her husband, and they were so passionate about it. It was really lovely, lovely to meet them. But yeah, I think I don't think it's a bad thing to be a female orientated business. There's a lot of money in there, and I think that it can get overlooked. But you know, you never know. Give me a couple more years, and we might get men desperate to invest in us.
I mean, obviously, there's lots of things that you did really well that made this campaign fly. You know, you did it in a record amount of time, massively overfunded, and during a pandemic, which is, you know, an incredible achievement. But I mean, looking back now with a bit of time, bit of space, are there any things that you might have done differently, do you think, either in that race or on the journey?
Yeah, I think I probably actually would have done the process a bit earlier. I think I did leave it till the last minute. I left it till the year of the EIS deadline. I think it was always something that I seemed a bit afraid of as a woman. I don't know why. I think just because I actually know nobody else that's been through this process. And I think as a woman, often we look, you know, we sort of look at what other people are doing maybe a bit. And I just don't know anybody else that's ever raised any money for a business. And I now feel totally different about it. If I do it again, I don't feel remotely daunted. I feel excited about the prospect. And I think it was something I sort of put off because I just didn't know whether it was, you know, it was something that was kind of right for our business. And I realized now through going through the process that not only is it finely tuned my understanding of the business and where I want to take it, like I have so much more clarity about our business plan. I love the fact that we've got a plan that we're delivering to our investors against, and it really sharpens the mind. And I think actually I would have done it a couple of years earlier. But, you know, to be fair, you know, there's always so much else happening. But yeah, I think I probably would have done it earlier. I would have been bolder as a female founder to say, actually, I want to get investment and I want to grow faster earlier. I don't feel, I think sometimes you can't really have any regrets. And I think that everything we've done to this point has brought us to where we are, but I definitely would feel less worried about doing it. And I'd have the confidence that, you know, actually people, you know, it's a business that people want to support and has the potential there.
I mean, just, you know, you are an inspiration to all those other women out there who can then see, you know, that there are great women doing this. And I think you're going to be number 50 of the women that we have interviewed for this podcast. So now, you know, the situation is so much better than it was 5 years ago.
Much better. It's so much better. But when I started out 7-8 years ago, it wasn't this case. You know, it wasn't the case. There weren't a lot of, you know, people who done this, or people's, you know, whose stories you could listen to. So I think what you're doing is brilliant. I think this is what we need to do. We need to create those stories so that other women can kind of hear from, you know, from other women, because often, you know, it's our confidence that holds us back, and it's not having visible role models and people that we can look to who have done similar things. So I think all these
getting the right support as well. I mean, that's the thing.
Definitely.
If you've never raised investment before, how would you know how to do it?
No, you don't know. So I mean, literally, I started out never having done this before, but knowing I wanted to do it. And then it was like, well, where do I start? So it was just a case of finding people I could talk to pick their brains. And I was really lucky to, I went to one event in London, which was basically how to raise investment, where they talked for all the different types of raising investments. I really was a total novice at this. the guy who was running it happened to be a bit of an expert, and he actually approached me afterwards and said, oh, I think your business is really interesting, your community is really interesting, would you be interested in working together? And I think having somebody just you can talk to as a coach, having somebody you can just say, hey, does this sound right, was really, really helpful. And I think it is something that can seem overwhelming when you've never done it before. So I definitely would recommend to other female founders to find somebody that has maybe been through it, that you can kind of bounce ideas off, check in with, who can sort of, hold you to account and make sure that you do the things that you say you're going to do, because there's so much going on when you're running a business. So this guy, Paul, was the person for me that really did make a difference in being able to do it so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, isn't it? I remember when I raised lots of money for my last business, but when I crowdfunded, again, I think we were the first fashion brand to crowdfund in the UK. And I didn't have a clue, No,
I know.
It was hard to go through it. It was in the days where we were all learning about how it works. And it is a bit more of a known and understood process now.
And I do think Crowdcube are brilliant, I have to say. They've got a very well set up system. You get an account manager there who talks you through it. Very, very easy to work with. Obviously not every business gets accepted by them. If anybody that's listening to this and that's interested in working with them, I'm really happy to chat about my experiences. But it's much easier nowadays to do it. But I think it's when you're coming from a base of having no knowledge, is how, as a woman, you get that knowledge, and you find people who you can bounce ideas off. So I would definitely recommend talking to somebody who's been through it before, because it does massively help.
Yeah. So what's next, Martha? Where are you going to be raising investment again? What's the growth plans for Martha?
Well, we've already done loads in the last year since we raised investment. So we've launched a new website. We've taken on extra staff. We've actually just announced that we've set up another studio in Australia, which has been quite an interesting thing to do during the pandemic. So yes, we've done loads in the last year, but I know that I'm sure that we're going to have to raise another round to go where I want to go as quickly as I want to go. So, we need the cash to be able to invest in, the next phase of our plans. We're doing very, very well. We've done very well with actually, £200,000 is not a huge amount of money. So I think the challenge for me is to decide when and how, which is going to be interesting. But yeah, I think we've got some really exciting plans. We've got a lot up our sleeve that we want to try. So my challenge is to kind of navigate the best way to do that. And if and when we raise again, what that looks like. As to whether we go down the crowd route again, or whether we do a different route. But we've committed to our community that the people who have invested in us, that whatever we do, they'll get first options the next time round. So
fantastic. And Christmas is coming up. I'm actually already thinking now, what stationery do I need? And
at the time of recording, funny you say that, we launch our Christmas shop tomorrow. So hopefully by the time this comes out, if people come to our website, they'll be able to find a whole load of new lovely things for Christmas. So
fabulous, how exciting. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Martha, and
no worries.
Look forward to seeing your continued success.
Thank you, Julia.
Thanks for following Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. This content is all provided to you for free, so if you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe so you never miss another one. Enter the Arena has helped hundreds of female founders fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business. Our first-hand experience, expert guidance, and proven programs help female founders unleash the Wonder Woman inside. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to www.enterthearena.co.uk. I'm Julia Elliott-Brown, and I look forward to talking with you soon.